Good morning. Once again, I'm going to cover an execution. This time I have the word-by-word statements that he made. His name was William Ostrander. He was hung in the state of New York on August 10th, 1888. He was convicted of murder. He was a bully. He threatened his family, his sisters. He was not a good man. However, there were a couple of big differences between the way the prisoners were treated in the 1880s and how they're treated today. As a matter of fact, they're much they're better treated, I believe. He was given 2 rooms. One was a separate bedroom. One was like a parlor, although it had grates on the windows. He had a pleasant view. He had a stove to keep him warm. And he had a bench with chairs. He was allowed to play a harmonica. And of all things, he was allowed to have a knife. Now, the knife was able to be used until just shortly before he was actually executed. The fear was not that he was going to harm someone. The fear that he was going to hurt himself was more important to the people. Now, the gallows that they used came from Rome a ways away and had to be placed together by a deputy and another man that helped it. It was a normal gallows with a 315-pound weight, and the idea was that when you let the lever go, the body would jerk up, and hopefully that the victim would be dead within a very short time. Although there was a large fence around the prison, it still drew hundreds and hundreds of people to try to see something, but they were mostly staying on the West Shore railroad track, which runs southwest and close to the jail, and were shouting obscenities at him as he was taken out of the jail. Now, he actually had a couple of interviews. One was Deputy Sutton, who had known him in the Rome jail. And although at first Ostrander didn't recognize him, he did later. These are his words. Are any swearing? I'm sorry. They are going to take me to Rome tomorrow, and I am going to be hung at 10 o'clock. They always do the hanging in Rome, and that's the reason I know. Now, there ain't no gallows here, and the law says the gallows must be on hand 10 days before the hanging and must be put up 5 days before. Now, I know the law, I do. Yes, they will make me to Rome, unless I get a stay, but because they got me new clothes, I don't think I'm going to get to say. He went on and on about this, moving around, clenching his fists, and, very excited. He found considerable problems with a harmonica he was attempting to play. He said that the store had sold him an improper harmonica, but it was there that the jailer told him that he was wrong, that there was not going to be a trip to Rome, that they had brought the gallows here. He was full of talk, but his ideas started to take a different turn once he heard this. He seemed to run the trial in the effort to prove him insane, as he called it. He became quite excited, pacing the floor and making disconnected remarks. He went on with his usual lingo against the district attorney and claimed that he had been beaten and the district at every point. He said the sales wanted him to play up insanity, but he would not do it. He said he could have played it up, but if he wanted to, but he didn't want to. For instance, in trying to tell about the district attorney, he was he kept on saying orange outang, meaning harangus. He seemed to be very proud of his organizational powers and appeared to take delight in making speeches. After he left the cell, Deputy Hartman told him that he began to really be down. He hated everybody. He had anything to do with convicting him and gave them all fits. He was quite fond of Sutton and Hartman, who he seemed to, obey as soon as they said. The deputy was able to get the knife away from him by telling him he wanted to keep it for a keepsake, and it was readily given over to him. At no time was he afraid for his life. He was afraid for the man's life. He kept on playing and singing, "Oh, think of our house over there." And at 1 o'clock, another visit was made to the cell. No family came, just an old neighbor. He continued playing a harmonica. At the break of day, with his harmonica still going, he sang anything that came into his mind. He roused him to get breakfast. He gave him ham and lamb and some boiled potatoes. They asked him whether or not he had been to bed. He said no. And they asked him if he wanted some pictures. He said yes, he wanted 2 pictures taken. And so they went down and took some photos. Between 8 and 6 in the morning, the Deputy Hartman painted the gallows because it was in poor conditions. None of the relatives showed up again. He continued with a good appetite. And then it became time to take him to the gallows. He was swearing profusely, calling everybody names. He was watching from a cell and yelling, swearing, and everything. They're going to take me at 10 o'clock. I'm going to walk out like a man, and all them goddamn, Well, anyways, he wasn't very nice about it. The pastor offered to walk with him. He walked with him up to the gallows. He was dressed with a black hat, black pants, and a white shirt. And he looked, very, very official. They took him to the scaffold. While at the scaffold, he came around the corner and saw the noose, made no attempt to say anything. He broke out with, "You not need to pray for me. I die innocent. I don't want prayers for me." Mr. Bigelow stepped to the right side of the scaffold and offered a short prayer. While he was praying, he stood on one foot and the other. He glanced around. The sheriff said, "Ostrander, have you anything to say? But be brief." That's when Ostrander then proceeded to make some of the most horrific, blasphemous, and indecent harangues ever heard of the lips of a man standing on the scaffold. His remarks are made in the usual strain, all but corrailing all that could do anything with the prosecution. It was so utterly wicked and filthy and so unfit for publications. But this is what he said. "I've got a few words to say. They wanted me to make up insane, but I would not do it. Some of them backstreet loafers and son of bitches raise their hands to me and abuse me. I will take my sentence like a bold Muldoon man. I am innocent. I am innocent. There is not a guilty hair in my head. You've got me out here, and now you can hang me. I got the grit to take all that is put on me. The first revolver was drawn on me. I then drew mine, and then it went off. My mother picked the revolver up. I understand it was found on the floor. She put it in his pocket. They swore to a lie against me on the trial. There are a lot of rappersalians and backstreet walkers. I've been called a son of a bitch by such people. Never mind that, said the sheriff. I will tell it all. As for the people of Oneida County, it is a dirty, stinking, goddamn disgrace to let me hang, but life is nothing to me. Anything else, the sheriff asked? No, nothing else. He never weakened. He never did anything. When the lever was pulled, it was 10:35. He was pronounced at 10:48 and 10:56. His body was taken down and put in a coffin. He's buried at this cemetery. He's a cemetery marker in Rome. None of his family came. It's a sad, sad day, but he got his jest. Thank you.